What is up, YouTube? Out in the garage on an early Sunday morning. Here's kind of where we're at. I got the truck pulled in and the Falcon sitting over here with the battery charger underneath it because for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the regulator or the alternator, but the charging system on the Falcon decided not to work since the rebuild. It was all working. Don't mind the cluster mess of wires, but I went through and rechased and made sure all the connections were good. Everything's hooked up the same way it was. No chargy. It's also got a little bit of a water leak coming from the thermostat, so more things to fix on this. And front main seal that I didn't replace when I had the timing cover off. I loose set everything. That's still leaking too, so that's fun. But I think, not positive if it's the best move yet. I've never run one, but I think what I'm going to do, I just ordered a one-wire alternator to go in here, and then I can get rid of a bunch of the wires that run over to the regulator here. I had another dead one up there that I tried swapping too. That one was shot, that one's shot. So I really don't know charging wise exactly whether or not the alternator's good or bad. Seems weird that it was all working and charging before and now it isn't, but I went through and, like I said, chased all the wires, tested everything, tried flip-flopping some stuff, could not get any charge on this whatsoever, and an alternator was $100, I think, so throw $100 at it, put a fresh one in that I know is good, and I think the one wire is definitely going to help because I got the old alternator harness hooked up to this, which bridges into the stock harness, and it's just kind of a mess of wires that I've been meaning to go through and clean up at some point. But other than that, fix the gas pedal. This thing rips, runs real good. Hopefully that video should have come out by now, by the time you see this at least. Did a little drive around on that. Man, 1/3 of throttle makes all the difference in the world when the secondaries actually start opening. Let me tell you, still a little slow down low, but the 411 should fix that when we get around to doing that. Oh, I picked up another third member. I got a 370 gear set with a spool. So here's the track lock one that we're gonna run. Here's the spool that I'm not gonna run, but I need parts from that because this is a Lincoln, so it's got the different yoke set up on there. But we are not here to play with any of this. I might start pulling off the front cover accessory stuff since the alternator should be here Monday or Tuesday. I can start pulling the alternator and the fan pulley, and at that point I should be able to also start pulling off the balancer and all that. This is a late model, so I think, fingers crossed, I think I can get to that front seal from the outside once I get the water pump and balancer off. Gotta double check. Or at least the balancer, I mean. But I'm pretty sure I might have access to that, and the seal pounds in from the front instead of the rear. We'll find out. I don't remember. I could just go back and look at the video when I put that together, and that'll let me know beforehand too. But that's the plan for that one. We'll start disassembling this today. Truck's in the driveway because that grindy starter that I've been having, the issues on the starter for, I don't know, 2 months, finally bit the dust. So go to crank it and it just does the free spin whine of death, and gotta jump underneath the car every time, beat the starter a few times, and then she fires right up. But I don't like doing that, and starters for these are cheap. I think with the core cost, because I gotta send this one back, it's like $65 or something like that, so reasonable. Easy enough just to swap it out, even though I think there might be a lifetime warranty on this still. Maybe I can send it back. I gotta look. I don't remember how long I've had this one in here or not, but that's what we're doing today. So let me jump underneath there. Maybe I'll bring you guys, it's 2 bolts. It's really not all that complicated. And I think the headers on this actually give me enough clearance to get to them. We'll find out. All right, underneath the car. So we got the header here, starter's right there. 2 bolts on the starter plus the electrical connector, which you guys might be able to see right there behind the collector there. So we'll pull the electrical. I should disconnect the battery too. Yeah, I'll pull the negative on the battery, and then we got the 2 bolts right up here. Like I said, I think this one actually has enough room, unlike the Falcon. It's nice being in the truck. I can actually just slide right underneath here. So let me pull that electrical wire and the negative on the battery. So much for a quick, easy starter job. I forgot how terrible it actually is with the headers. So I got the starter out, and basically I can't get to the top back bolt, the one right here that you might be able to see, probably not. But there's a bolt on the top side, the bottom one's fine. Top one I can't get to because the header, collector, and the frame all sit so close, so I gotta get in there, reach around the collector down here with a box end wrench and turn it, quarter turn at a time, so that sucked. And I can't get to the electrical, so I had to drop the starter first and then pull the electrical. But we did it, a giant pile of wrenches and extensions and all that other stuff, but the starter's out. Let's take a look at the new one. Best starter that O'Reilly's had to offer. So I got a Ultima, hopefully it should work. Yank this out of the box real quick and throw it down next to the other one, just to make sure everything's fine. This one seems pretty big. Let's yank the other one out from underneath the car. Pretty much identical, old one to new one. So now we get to do the fun part of trying to lift this starter up, and I gotta start the electrical wire. I can tighten it in the car on the post. This one here, we can snug that up when it's in the car, but I can't really get it on and started. And then we're gonna have to try and fight this stupid upper bolt. Headers are fun, right? This used to be a 5-10 minute job. Now I've been under there for 20 minutes. Back under the car. Okay, starter's back in. I did not want to film anything underneath. It actually went in much easier than it came out. I rotated that wire. I ended up putting the wire back on here for the starter relay wire. Put it back on after, so I was able to get the motor, or started with the bottom bolt, the accessible one, drove it into roughly where it was snug, then reached around the header in between the frame, because the frame sits pretty close on this rail here. You can see a little bit of light gap there, but I reached in around the collector and basically had to turn my hand completely upside down, get that bolt started. Felt really, really good on the wrist. But starter's back in. I'll leave you guys out here and we'll fire this thing up. Hopefully it fires right up, but here is the pile of miscellaneous tools that I needed for a starter job. 2 bolts, 3 bolts if you count the wire. But let's jump in, see if this actually worked. Little choke, little neutral. Oh, you know what helps with starting? Hooking up a battery. Dummy rookie mistake. All right, let's try this again. Not gonna start if you don't have power to it, huh? So we'll throw the ground back on here. Tighten. All right, let's jump in the car. Now we should be good. Oh, that sounds so much better. No more start and then whee. That's how it's supposed to go. She's back in action. Now I don't have to climb underneath the car and beat the starter with the wrench. Let's take a quick look at the Falcon and we'll wrap the video up on that one. Like I said, I'm not gonna do too much, but we're gonna tear that apart a little bit and get it prepped. Car doesn't have to go anywhere right now. And like I said, alternator should be here Monday or Tuesday. Hopefully Monday, that would be nice. But I'll start pulling off some of this stuff now. Take the alternator off and maybe pull the balancer. Have this pretty much done and set up for a quick alternator swap. And ideally, if I can get the front seal off, since the alternator's coming off already, I'm a third of the way there. So balancer and disassembly. Again, one day this thing will run right. Even though it looks real pretty with the broken door, right? Let's get after it. here's the dilemma. I got the fan, the alternator off, the balancer pulley off, water pump still hooked up, obviously. The balancer. I got the radiator and the fan and everything installed. I don't have an impact small enough to get that bolt free. So I'm gonna have to figure something out here, figure out a way to lock the motor. Let me think on that one for a minute. But I gotta break the balancer bolt free without turning the motor over. This will be fun. Well, I'm looking at this, trying to figure out how to avoid it, but realistically, if I gotta go in and do the crank seal rather than laying underneath the car, I got a lot of room right up front. It's only water in the radiator right now, and I think it's just the 4 bolts holding the radiator in, so I think I'm just gonna yank that out. It's probably unnecessary, and there's probably a better way to do it, where I wouldn't have to pull the radiator and all the cooling stuff just to get the balancer out. However, if I'm gonna be working on there, I'd like to have access to that in case the whole timing cover has to come out and things like that. It's gonna be a lot easier if I can't just press the seal in from the front. Maybe not. Let me know in the comments if you know of a better way on a Ford, but I know the motor spins counterclockwise. I thought about trying to do the breaker bar and a starter trick, but I don't know if that'll work on this. So, radiator's coming out. Radiator's out. Kind of a pain in the ass. I really didn't want to have to do that, but it's going to make my life a lot easier because now I have access to this to get our balancer bolt out. It'll be so much easier getting the balancer pulley tool in here when I'm not sitting here trying to fight a million different. There we go. Now, got plenty of room on the balancer, and we'll be able to set up the tool in there, yank all this off. Much easier. So let me grab the balancer tool. Balancer tool's hooked up. Should be good to go now. So we got that semi-seated in there. Grab the rest of this. Oh, you know what? I think I might see where the leak is. I don't think, maybe there's a little on the front main. That oil pan gasket's pinched right there. Shit. Maybe you guys can see that too. Gasket got pinched, it didn't seat proper, so, well, it is an outer cover, so if I can pound this seal out, we're going to put a new seal in, then I'll loosen the pan bolts anyway and just drop that, pinch that back in, and see if that works. If not, we get to do this all over again. There's a lot of splatter up here too, so we'll see. Alright, a buddy of mine just stopped by to borrow the bike trailer. They're grabbing another iron head that needs to be finished up. So, gave them that while I was looking over this. I'm going to pop that seal out. Now the real question is, with as organized as I am, where did I put that seal? I'm hoping it's in the car maybe. I don't really remember. I made a big pile of stuff for that a while ago. I was going to try and do this at the shop, but I'm going to loosen up those pan bolts on the front and try and see if I can push that gasket into the groove. Not overly optimistic on that one for the oil pan gasket, but we'll loosen these and see if I can sneak this in and down a little bit, and then we'll work on pounding that seal out. All right, so I pushed those 2 bolts on the outside here, loosen those up just enough, and it did move quite a bit here. So that's the 1/2-inch bolts, the bigger ones. So now I gotta grab a 7/16 and loosen up those other outside too, and I think we should have enough room to try and reseat this seal. Not overly optimistic here. I also don't know why I didn't just bring my service card out here, because now I have tools everywhere. Man, I can't believe I did that. That was a dumb mistake. Helps if you grab the right socket. Okay. Now that's pretty loose on the front. A little screwdriver or something. We'll gently see if we can reseat that without messing it up. That's more like it. Drive these back up. Moment of truth. All right. So that should do there. Hopefully that's still going to seal. Time will tell. And now you get to start trying to pry this seal out of here. Let me see what I got for that. Not sure the best way about going through this. We'll start with a pry bar. Just like that. So it is kind of nice that this is set up like a late model one. I believe on the early ones this doesn't work that way. Here's the seal. Doesn't look that bad. Yeah. Oh well. Now I gotta find the new one. We were in luck. Did have it in the car. So when I bought the front cover set, got a brand new seal here. So I'm gonna RTV the outside of this, lube this guy up, and then we'll slide her back in. Wipe this thing down, see what the crankshaft looks like or feels like. I don't remember there being any marring or anything on here before. Feels all right to me. We'll see. Let me RTV this thing. A little bead on the outside of this. And then the fun part of trying to drive this back in. I wipe up my hands, get this off of me, because it's going to get everywhere. Then I'll start looking for a tool of some sort to drive that thing home. Well, I got the new seal in. No real trickery with that one. I just took the seal, I set it up there with a little bit of RTV. I just kind of love tapped it around until I got it seated, which then we were able to start kind of driving this in on the outside. Like so, and then I took the old handy dandy shovel head 4-speed clutch sprocket nut tool and walked this around the outside. And now I got a seal installed. So I'm going to go ahead and start slapping the rest of this together. I'm going to lube up this seal and hopefully we're good to go on that. I didn't have the camera rolling when I started doing that. Well, I thought I did, but I didn't when I started doing the little tappity tap taps around here. The other option that you could do, I was looking at it, if you take the crank pulley bolt, I don't know, like a hole saw or I don't have sockets that big, but if you do like a hole saw or something on here, this is almost big enough, but I might have to make another thing a little bit bigger than that for doing this in the future, but hopefully I don't have to worry about that. I'm thinking with the oil pan gasket resealed the way it's supposed to be in the groove here, and this, we should be good to go. Going back at this now, so I grabbed some assembly lube and just threw it around the housing of the balancer. Lube this up for the fresh seal. Put some lube on the crank itself as well. And now we can drop this guy back on. As bummed as I was about pulling out the radiator, I'm really glad I did that now. It's gonna make this so much easier going back together. All right, so I got the balancer line back up on the pin. I'll drive that back in. I'm gonna throw you guys up top. We're just gonna do a quick little time lapse of the rest of this. I can't put everything back on. But I can at least get the pulleys and balancer stuff done while we wait on the alternator in the mail. I got the balancer back in and radiator's back in. I still gotta hook up the coolant lines, but I'm not really in a rush because it's gonna be easier getting the alternator in without this upper one. Actually, that won't really make a difference. I just don't feel like doing it. We got a housewarming party to go to, so that's about all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the double Ford duo. 2 broken Fords in the driveway. How fun is that? Who would have thunk it? Starter's back in. That's working great. Falcon's another day closer-ish, hopefully. Try and address some of the problems as they pop up, but once the alternator gets here, we'll go over the one-wire install and see how that goes. Hopefully that'll fix all my problems instead of messing around with old alternators and junkyard regulators. We'll catch you on the next one.